Yo, what up, everybody? It's your boy Chuck here, your host of The Corner, where we talk about a little bit of anything and everything, but it's most likely going to be, you guessed it, women's basketball. Now, today I got a short episode for y'all. We're going to catch up on the preseason. We're going to talk about who got released from their respective teams. And we're also going to look at this Dallas and Fever game, and I'll give y'all a live score recap. And we're also going to talk about, does the W need to fix their offseason? Do they need a summer league? Do they need a longer training camp? And things of that nature. But I will see y'all right on the other side of this.
God, I just follow his plan. Even when it hurts, I still stand as a man.
What's up, everybody? Again, it's your boy Chuck, host of The Corner, where we talk about a little bit of anything and everything. Now, to start things off, we are going to go into who has been released so far and who's going to be saying goodbye for the part time of the season so far. Can't really move that out of the way. But okay, so far the Atlanta Dream has waived Bella Fontenoy, Lila Fela, and Sacha Washington. They announced that today. And then the Toronto Tempo, they released Dara Mabry, Christy Wallace, and Madison Roxy. They have all been waived by the Tempo. And then Jaylen Brown has been waived by the Seattle Storm. Just a couple names for y'all. Also, the Minnesota Lynx have released Sakima Walker. The Valkyries have released Caroline Ducharme. And the Phoenix Mercury have released Yarden Garzon and Maggie Dugan. So just a couple of names from y'all that have been released so far. There are more names to come as we go through this preseason. So just be on the lookout. Hopefully your favorite player that got picked up during the training camp specials and even before the season started, hopefully they remain on the team and they can get some successful bump. But we are going to talk about later in the show is, does the W need a longer training camp? Or do they need something like a summer league, a G League, something of that sort to get these players better trained? Excuse me. But going into the preseason, we're going to talk about the games that happened yesterday. The Atlanta Dream took on the Chicago Sky. They ended up beating them 87-78. Your top performer was Medina Okot. She finished with 14 points and 11 rebounds. That was actually a pretty good game from both ends. Chicago Sky had Sydney Taylor come in for their squad, and she went absolutely crazy, man. Hopefully she earns a spot on that roster, but half of Chicago's starting roster wasn't even playing. Dejanay Carrington was out, Azura Stevens was out, Sloot was out also, and Elizabeth Williams, who should be starting at the center position, she was also out for that game. So Chicago has a lot of players who didn't even get to play yet in any of their preseason games. But shout out to the other players who have stepped up, like a Sydney Taylor. They got some good bump. From the Atlanta side, you had India. Lord, I forgot her name. India Rhyme, I believe. I don't want to butcher her name. She played a good game also. Of course, Pow Pow came in and did her thing. A couple other players. You had Sydney Theory. Let me get these names right. I don't want to butcher these names, and then y'all looking at me like, what are you talking about? All right, so going back to the roster, Isabel Borlas, they picked her up. She played a good game yesterday. India Navarre, that's her name. Sorry about that. India Navarre, she came in and played a good game also. Taylor Theory, she came in and played a good game. And Sahina basically stayed in the second half and led that third and fourth string unit. And she finished with about 13 points also. So some good bump. Chicago Sky, like I said, Sydney Taylor, she played a good game. Haley Van Lith looked good. She's had a strong preseason, Haley Van Lith. So whatever she did during the offseason definitely helped her out in a very big way. She's looking good. She's putting up points and is still solid on the defensive end. Maddie Westfield got some playing time. She looked good also. Gabriela Jaquez also played yesterday. I didn't see much from her, but I'm pretty sure she's not getting cut from that team. They spent their first round draft pick on her, so I'm pretty sure she'll have a bounce back preseason game coming up, and we'll probably get to see her get a lot of playing time. All right, moving on to the next game, we had the Phoenix Mercury and the Japan national team. Now, this Japan national team, I don't want to make it sound crazy, but they come over here and play. Most of the games aren't close, I'll say. Most of the games are blowouts. Some of their players do get looked at for some of these W teams, but most of their games in the blowouts. I mean, it's good. I would say it's good for the league to keep that going and to build up that repertoire between the national teams and these W teams, just so those overseas players can still get looks for the W and be brought over if needed. But top performer was Kalia Copper. She ended with 17 points, 3 rebounds, and three three-pointers made. The Phoenix Mercury beat Japan 86-60. Now, the Phoenix Mercury has a solid roster so far. They still have a lot of players up there. They did get rid of 2 players, like I said earlier, Yarden Garzon and Maggie Dugan. That's 2 players out of us. Like they still have a lot of players left on this roster. So we'll just have to see how that shakes out for this Phoenix Mercury team. All right, moving on to the next game. Top performers, you got Zia Cook and Flaw J. Johnson for the Seattle versus Portland Fire game. Now, I'm actually going to go back and watch this game. I ended up going to sleep, and then the Rockets and Lakers were playing, so I definitely was focused on that other game. But I heard this was a pretty good, even game all around. Zia Cook has supposedly found her spark again and love for the game. She's looking real good. Granted, she's getting more of an opportunity this year that she didn't get last year. She finished with 19 points and 4 three-pointers made. Flage ended with 20 points, 3 rebounds, and also 3 three-pointers made also. So shout out to the young rook Flage getting it in. She first, if you don't know, she first was drafted to the Golden State Valkyries, but there ended up being a trade mid-draft to send her to the Seattle Storm. So I'm glad she's found a home. I'm glad she's getting in her groove with scoring points. And I'm glad Zia Cook, if you don't know, Zia Cook went to South Carolina. She graduated from there. I'm glad she's getting some bump also in the league because she's just been, when she was on the Spark, she got some playing time. When she was on the Storm, like coming to the Storm, she got a little bit of playing time, but I felt like she was always well deserving of more playing time. So shout out to them too. Again, Seattle ended up beating Portland 91-81. All right, moving on to the next game. This is the Connecticut Sun versus the Toronto Tempo. So you have an expansion team new to the league, and you have a team that will be leaving this year also. So that score was 83-78. And this was I actually got to tune into this game while I was watching the Atlanta game. This was a good game, man. There was a lot of, it basically came down to the wire and then a couple of foul shots, but it was a good game all around. That Toronto team has a very veteran-heavy roster, very solid team. I think Kia Nurse, she's from Canada, I believe. She ended up making the first three-pointer of the game for the Toronto Tempo, the opening shot. So shout out to Kia Nurse for getting that done. But the top performer was Anissa Morrow from LSU, 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 steals. Now, I tuned into the game, and it was around like the third or fourth quarter, and she absolutely locked in and led her team. She ended up getting like the game-winning steal and score. So basically, shout out to Anissa. Like, in my opinion, that's Anissa's team. Yes, she has Leah Edwards there also. She has Sanaya Rivers. Very young team, but I believe so far that is Anissa's team. And let's do a roster update on the Connecticut Sun. One of their draft pick, Gianna Neepkin, she played very good also yesterday, but it's a lot of players who didn't play. Hermione Turner from Harvard, she didn't play really. Shea Petty didn't play either, I don't believe. So it's a lot of players that still haven't got any bump in this preseason. So let me pause right there, right? And this is going to go into actually pause. Let's do this. I'm gonna go down this list of who didn't play. We're gonna do the live update, and then we're gonna come back to my point about that, right? So Angloma didn't play, Lacan didn't play, Oda, old these names, boy. Odegaard didn't play, Shea Petty didn't play, and Amari Turner didn't play for the Sun. But let's check in on this Dallas Wings and Indiana Fever game. Score right now is 53-36. Wow, this I was just watching this game and the score was not this bad. 53-36. Dallas is ahead. Remember, Dallas has AZ Fudd. That's the #1 draft pick for the 2026 season. Let's tap in and let's get some stats from this game. From the Indiana side, Caitlin Clark is leading all of their scores with 16 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists. She's also shooting very well from the three. She's 2 for 3 from the three so far. Kelsey Mitchell is right behind her with 6 points. The next highest scorer is Hines Allen and Mina Timpson. So Indiana behind the lead of Caitlin Clark. Raven Johnson from South Carolina, she's playing pretty good so far. She already has a couple steals under her belt. But so far, Dallas is in the lead. Of course, they have Paige Beckers leading the way with 18 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. And then you have Maddie Segrist, who is right behind her, shooting good from the three-point line. She has 12 points, 3 rebounds, and she is shooting 2 for 2 from the three-point line. Odyssey Sims also, who went to that team in the offseason, she has 5 points. And then Isaiah James, who is a very, very sleeper player for me. She has 7 points off the bench. Leah Rue also has 6. So shout out to the Wings for hanging in there and leading so far at halftime. All right, going back to, I'll put this game up here. All right. So let's talk about what the WNBA does in the off season and how I think like it's just not enough time, right? So let's say you're a college student, you're in the NCAA tournament, you get to about the Final Four. By the time you get to the Final Four, free agency is basically almost already started for the W. It was a little bit later this year because the CBA wasn't signed yet, but free agency is almost like out of the way for the W by the time. If you're in the tournament still, you have games to worry about. You really don't have time to sit back and worry about if you're going to declare for the draft or if you're going to stay another season with your team or transfer out, something like that. So the time limit is so small for these players. And then if you're a national champion, you win the national championship, and like the next week later, you're on the draft stage. So I think a player said they had about 48 hours to even put in if they were going to declare for the draft. To me, that's just not enough time. Very life-changing moment for these players. Also, a lot of these players, in the last couple of drafts, we have seen about maybe 4 to 5 pro-ready players throughout the draft. The draft is about, 15 deep for the first round, and then I think 15 deep again for the second round. A lot of these players are just not ready yet. They're still such raw prospects. Only some of these players are actually ready and fit into a system when they get to their team. So let's say, for instance, AZ Fudd, right, the #1 draft pick. She's still learning as she goes, and now she's getting to Dallas where she sort of has to fit into a not really a 2-guard role, but a 3 on that team, because she has Paige and then she has Enrique, who isn't even playing tonight, but she's going to have to bump down to the 3 and play at that 3 position, which might end up with her doing a lot more shooting than she's used to. So she'll have to work on her 3-point shot and things of that nature. But overall, in my opinion, it's just not enough time. So a lot of people are saying maybe the W should do like a summer league or like a G League to bring these players up and to help them grow with their like with their game, basically grow their game before they even get to the league. So trying to map this out, right? When you graduate from college and you're declaring for the draft, you really don't have time to go through a summer league because the next week after the draft, you're going straight to training camp. So what time do you have in the middle to go play your summer league games unless they push the schedule back deeper into the fall, which I don't think they're going to do because they're talking about adding more games. So you can't push the schedule back if you're going to add more games. So where do these players go to get more training and more opportunity? First of all, how how can I word this? How much faith do we have in the scouting for the WNBA with a lot of these raw prospects? Because every year we see the draft and then we see players that get picked in these second and like second and third round, and it just feels like they're overlooked. Now this year's draft, I have a lot of opinions about because I think if you do a redraft in a couple of months for these players, which I mean hindsight is 2020, whatever, but it's going to be a new number one pick, probably like the first 4 or 5 picks are going to be someone completely different, right? So where does the good scouting come in for these WNBA prospects, especially in the next couple of years where they might change the rules of these players graduating and it might end up being the NBA type rules where they can do one and done. Where do these players go? Where do these undrafted free agents go to continue to work on their game? And I'm not saying like, of course, most of them go overseas, but where do they go to continue to work on their game in the States and to be able to be looked at by WNBA scouts and GMs? Because basically, if like let's take Deja Kelly for example, got drafted, um, went to Vegas, right? Didn't stay on the team, and basically didn't get picked up again this offseason. So is her W career over? But where does she go to prove, that she's been in the lab working, that she deserves another chance? Tia Cooper, another name. We saw Trinity Carter got picked up by the Las Vegas Aces, but we all know what Trinity Carter is, a madman on the court. She's a hooper. Like, she will give you a guaranteed bucket. But for these other players that aren't necessarily guaranteed buckets, but are role players, but can be good for a team, where do they go to work on their game? So let's say the W incorporates the G League. Who's going to fund it? What cities are going to get the G League teams? Is the NBA going to help any? Where are they going to play at? How many players can be on a roster? Because the WNBA roster is already short. So how many players can be on a G League roster? Things of that nature. Like, the W is slowly expanding, but it's not a slow expansion. It's very, very fast, and it's a lot of demand from fans. Over the next 3 to 4 years, you're adding about 4 more teams. So where are these other players going to go? Or where are the players that get cut after a season because they just didn't make it yet, but they still can improve their game? Where do they go to improve their game? Where do they go? What do we do? How do they improve their game? I'm not sure. I don't know the answer. It just feels like it's been sort of cutthroat the last couple of years. It's basically like, if you don't make it this year, then you're probably done if you're not a high quality name, right? If you're not like a Trinity Carter or a Bria Hartley or any of those kind of names who were able to leave or had to leave due to having a child maybe, or had to leave due to injury and then come back and bounce right back. What about these other lesser known players? Where do they get their opportunity from? Because in the NBA, we see it all the time. They have two-way players. They play in the G League. And then the next day they come and play with their regular NBA team. And then when it comes for like playoff time, they're good enough, they get picked up and they roll with the NBA squad. Can the W create enough assets to do that? And where do we get our answers from? Because I don't know. I don't have nothing to tell you right now. Right? All right. So let's check back in on this Fever and Wings game. I'll give y'all another update. I think they're out of halftime. All right. The score is now 59-45. I'm pretty sure. Oh, it wasn't even halftime. I'm sorry, y'all. This is a high scoring first half, actually. 59-45. Caitlin Clark has 19 now. Paige Beckers has 20 now. So they're still going at it, still hooping pretty hard. We'll do another update before the show is over. But yeah, man, y'all let me know in the chat. My TikTok crew, if y'all are in there, y'all let me know. Should the W find a way to incorporate a summer league or a G League? And if they should, how should they do it? Who has the answers and who has the resources for the WNBA? All right, moving on. Going back to talk about this Atlanta and Chicago game, as I told y'all before, my teams are, well, if you follow me on TikTok, I put out my teams for the season already. My teams are the Atlanta Dream, Washington Mystics. Then my sleeper team is the Toronto Tempo, and then my fun team is going to be the Connecticut Sun. So I'll be paying attention to everybody, but those 4 teams specifically, I'll be locked in on and mostly making content on. So let's talk about the Atlanta Dream today, and then on another day, I'll dive into my other teams before we get into the W season, right? So Atlanta, with the addition of Angel, they are fairly high on her. We heard the coach talk about how she can come in and definitely, besides her rebounding and defense, how she can be a spark on the offense. We heard how Alicia Gray said she might be the piece that they were missing. They'll just have to play and see, right? So very good stuff from Angel in the preseason, and I'm not trying to hyper fixate and focus on her. I'm just going off what the focus was basically for the first preseason game, was how she was going to gel and mesh into that team. So for the first game against the Chicago Sky, there was no set offense. They were just running around basically trying to figure out how they could create ways to score. That's coming from the coach. He just wanted to see how they would gel together and put up points. One of the opening plays was Angel Reese shooting a 3. Now, I'm very, very big. Like, if you know me, if you follow me on all my other stuff, I've been hooting and hollering for her to take more 3-point attempts. And I wanted at least 3 a game. I got that yesterday. Did she make them? No, that's okay. I just want the volume of shooting to stay consistent in that manner, because the shots are going to fall eventually. But as she was saying in her press conference, she didn't have the confidence to shoot those in her last 2 years. As you saw, like, if you pay attention to the games, a lot of teams would leave her open. I feel like she was more focused on getting her other teammates involved than being the shooting 4 or the shooting 5 in some of those situations, right? So now she has a bunch of shooters around her, and Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray. Naz Hillman can also shoot the ball. We know what Pow Pow can do when she's open. We haven't seen Olcott shot some 3s yesterday. A lot of hers also didn't go in, but we see the type of team Atlanta is trying to be, and I believe they're trying to be a team that can kill you from everywhere on the court, right? They don't want anywhere to be a liability or weakness that you can attack on a defensive level. So I'm very happy so far with what I've been seeing. I want Angel to continue to shoot the ball. I honestly don't care if it's 5 attempts a game. Granted the situation, I'm just happy she's building the confidence to shoot them. The shots will fall eventually. Let's talk about this Chicago Sky team, because it's very, y'all know I was rooting for them last year. I did a little breakup with them, whatever. But I'm very intrigued by this team, man. Let's go over the names again for this Chicago Sky team, right? So you got Rachel Banham, Camila Cardoso, Dejanay Carrington, We'll do the big names: Skylar Diggins, Rakia Jackson, Gabriella Hawkes, Letitia Lattimore, Achia Kulabi. She was there last year, I believe. Tony Morgan, J.C. Sheldon, Azura Stevens, Sydney Taylor, Haley Van Liff, Courtney Vandersloot, Maddie Westville, Elizabeth Williams. Right. So they went out in this offseason and they got players who they thought would fit well into the scheme and a lot of veteran presence, good veteran presence compared to the last 2 years, right? So I'm not even sure what this opening lineup is going to be. Granted, health, I'm thinking Skylar Diggins, Rakia Jackson, Camila Cardoso, Azor Stevens, if healthy, and maybe you throw J.C. Sheldon out there. I'm not sure of Courtney Vandersloot's timeline, so I didn't want to include her into the starting five. But it's going to be real interesting to see how this team shakes out. A lot of people are saying on the interwebs that this is a no defense team. I sort of disagree, man. Azora Stevens plays defense. J.C. Sheldon has decent defense. Camilla, when she's playing at a high level, she has good defense. We know what Dejanay does. So Rakia also plays very good defense. She got a chase down block yesterday. So I'm not seeing that narrative of the Chicago team won't play defense. We'll just have to see how everything shakes out. Let's see. Last thing, or should I say this for the next? Yeah, we can talk about it now. Should the WNBA change their playoff picture? I think they're waiting probably till they get a couple more teams in. They do have an Eastern and Western Conference, but so far it's only the top eight teams out of both conferences. That's everybody. The top 8 teams get into the playoffs. Different from the NBA, NFL, and stuff like that. But I think they're going to change it when they get probably about 4 more teams, maybe 3 more teams in. They're probably going to change it to where the top teams from each conference get into the playoffs. Maybe they'll do something like a play-in like the NBA does. We'll just have to wait and see. But so far, the W is just the top 8 teams getting into the playoffs. Let's see. That's pretty much all I got, man. It's been a very eventful weekend. Everybody is doing their media days and stuff like that. I don't know if like they get their players and then they do the media days with everybody and then the players get cut like a week later. So I sort of don't see the point in that, but whatever. It's always good, I guess, to get a team photo. Again, going back to the people that got released, just to talk about a couple names. The Dara Mabry release, I'm not going to say it was surprising, but a lot of W fans hoped and wished that she would get to play with her sister. I didn't even tune into the full game yesterday. I watched the second half, so I don't even know if they got to play on the court together, man. And that's the thing, like, it's just so. Let's go back and talk about this, right? So you have about, I guess, 3 preseason games for each team. Is that enough time to evaluate these players, man? Because again, you got the national championship, you got the draft, you got training camp for about 2 weeks or 1.5 weeks, whatever. And then you're going into 3 preseason games. Is that enough time to evaluate these players? I don't think it is. I don't think it's fair to the players. Now, granted, if you're good, you're going to stand out, you're good. But I think a lot of these GMs/coaches already know who they want on their roster. Like before the draft, they already have a pre-notation of who's going to be the starters and who's going to be on the team. They draft 1 or 2 players and then they move on. And then everybody else who's drafted after or was picked up as an undrafted free agent, they don't get the same visibility or the same like attention and like player details that the starters do. Because the like for example, that Connecticut game yesterday, I think Anissa basically played the whole game. So you have a bona fide starter who's playing the whole game, and you have other players like I know I keep calling her name out, but like a Harmony Turner who got 0 minutes yesterday. 0. So is that saying like these players that aren't getting time aren't just doing it in practice? Or I don't know, man. Because even last year, I was sort of not starstruck, but like dumbfounded at how like these players who got picked up in the offseason didn't get to play in the preseason, but the stars got to play. So where are you doing your talent evaluation at? Just in training camp when they're going against each other? Is that fair to the players? I don't think so. I don't think that's fair to the players at all. Let's say like you have a like practice, you can always have a good practice, and then the next day you just go cold. And the same thing with the preseason games. You can have a good preseason game, and then the next preseason game you just aren't playing good. Should that determine your whole W entrance or career? I don't think so. I don't think it's right, man. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair at all. So the W has to come up. This is all my opinion, whatever. The W has to come up with a way to better evaluate talent. Because I think there's a lot of time. I mean, granted, there are more teams coming, but they're coming so staggered that a lot of players probably going to get left off. So where do we get better talent evaluation from, and what can we do? Because I don't know. I don't think you have the time for a summer league. I don't think you have the resources for a G League. So what can you do? What can you do? Yeah, man, that's all I wanted to talk about so far. I'll be back with Deuce on next Monday. Yeah, I should be back next Monday. We're gonna talk some Commander stuff, and then I'll be right back here in the corner so we can talk more WNBA. Next week, I believe the 3rd is the start of the season, something like that. But I'll update y'all Monday. We'll get my predictions in for MVP, rookie year, all that stuff on Monday, and then yeah, don't be scared to give y'all feedback either, man. Hit me up on all my socials as you see below. Hit me up on my TikTok. We go live on there sometimes, so you can definitely comment on the comment section, and we'll read it out on the show. But that's all I have for y'all today. Let's check back in on this Fever and Dallas game real quick. They should be at halftime right now. Yeah, they're at half, and it is 61-46. Dallas is up again. Caitlin Clark still has 19 points. Hines Allen has now caught up to her with 7 points. And Paige Becker still has 20. And now Leah Rue has scored more points. She has 8 now. But yeah, man, that's all I got. Yeah, again, feel free to hit me up on any of my socials. Definitely tune in for more content. I'll be posting stuff during the week on TikTok. We're locked in this season, man. I know last year I said I was going to be locked in. Some stuff came up. So I couldn't really lock in how I want to. This season, I'll have more time to lock in, create more content for y'all, definitely engage with y'all. I'll be going to a couple of the games, so we'll get some IRL stuff. Hopefully, we can get some players on. Not for like an episode, but definitely we can get some shout outs for some players, get some cool autograph stuff like that, man. Let's see. Oh, all the preseason games, if you don't have the WNBA app, they are free on the WNBA app. You just got to create a WNBA ID. All the preseason games are free to watch. Going into the season, they're going to switch over to their respective networks for each game. But I believe this league pass for the W right now is only about $34, $35. So it's at a discounted price. I would definitely grab that because it's going to go up when the season starts. But yeah, man, that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning into the corner. Remember, when you finish at the lab, you can always come down here and kick it with me at the corner. I'm your host, Chuck. Shout out to Dude, shout out to Dog Tired. We will see y'all Monday. And just like that, we are gone.
God, I just follow his plan. Even when it hurts, I still stand as a man.